never allow you to go back to your lives as usual. Uninvolved, uninformed.
Yes. Barack will never allow us to go back to our lives as usual. Right. They are not missed. Well, I do have I've got a Michelle Obama soundbite today. Big Mike, as she is broadly known. And apparently trouble in paradise over there. You can have all the oceanfront mansions in the world. You can have tens of millions of dollars in the bank for doing nothing for Netflix and still have a terrible marriage. Terrible, horrible, awful marriage year after year after year. Just awful. And Big Mike said it. She said it's a podcast. Everything's a podcast, isn't it? You know what? After I'm done with this radio show, you know what happens to it? It's a podcast. Everything's a podcast. And then we got we've got a lot going. We do have Michelle Obama. We've got never allow you to go back to your lives. I didn't see that one coming. Uninvolved. Never allow you to go back to your lives as usual. That's something. The fundamental transformation of America. The chronically unhappy. You know, they're not happy unless they're not happy. And remember the old adage your grandmother used to use: misery loves company. And they are misery incarnate. Extraordinary people. They're the left. I've got a story about the left. Driving in today, I had an experience with the left that I want to share with you in just a moment. We do have updates for you on Iran. There is a military conflict going with the Islamic Revolution, the world's #1 terror organization, have been for a half a century, almost 47 years. And the Democrat Party, they're on the sides of the Ayatollah. They have no, and the next Ayatollah. Oh, you see the next Ayatollah, the son of the Ayatollah? He is filthy rich. Do you see this? He is a real estate tycoon in London, England, because London is essentially now one of the Emirates. They should call it the Emirate, and London Stan, as it's known. And the would-be successor to the now deceased Ayatollah, who's the son of the Ayatollah, the deceased Ayatollah. He turns out he's a real estate tycoon in London, England, worth a great deal of money. Not as much as Nancy Pelosi, but a great deal of money, and I want to share that with you. Also yesterday at the United Nations, the Security Council, and then more broadly the United Nations, they adopted a resolution condemning Iran. And it's kind of an amazing story. Iran has been raining death down on their Arab neighbors, their Muslim neighbors, their Arab neighbors. And yesterday, Bahrain, at the lovely Bahrain, Manama, Bahrain, been there. And Bahrain, they introduced a thing at the United Nations as though it means anything at all, but it's symbolic anyway. And they said they wanted to condemn Iran for raining death down upon them, which they have done and they have been doing and they will likely continue to do, and their other Arab neighbors, the other Muslim neighbors. And it turned out they broke a record. They broke a record, the number of people at the United Nations that voted to condemn Iran yesterday. It broke a record not just condemning Iran, but for agreement at the United Nations. It's a unique moment, an interesting moment. Yes, it is. And in New York, I don't know if you saw this, but the news media lost it. I didn't even see it, and I see everything. But the New York City, they had a vigil for the Ayatollah, for the killed Ayatollah, and you'll never guess what happened. It turned into violence because they're terrorists. That's the thing about these guys, like the bomb-throwing lunatics in New York City and all that. But we've got that. And the news media, the Democrats, are Americans still welcome in Europe? Huh? Are they? Because, Trump, and it could be bad. But really the problem is the left, and it's the left in America and every place else. In Spain, merry old España, they have Caracas and those big fat guitars and things like that. Spain removes ambassador from Israel in protest of Iran war. Isn't that amazing? And that's they pulled their, but they still have their ambassador in Iran, in Tehran, where they slaughtered tens of thousands of their own people. Spain, because they have a lefty prime minister there, pulling their prime minister because he hates the Jews. He's like a fascist. He might be the new Francisco Franco, this person. And so they pulled their ambassador from Israel, but not from Iran, where they just slaughtered tens of thousands of their own people at gunpoint because they're yearning to be free. Isn't that amazing? And in Spain, they said, well, looks like, we're not friends with Israel anymore. So Israel bombed them. Just kidding. That's just a little joke. They haven't really yet. Just great. Yeah, and I went and I looked up the Spanish ambassador, the ambassador from Spain to Tehran, and he's having a nice time. They hate the Jews or something like that, isn't it? And there was a funny story yesterday by ABC News, kind of funny. FBI warns Iran aspired to attack California with drones in retaliation for war. And isn't that amazing? And then CBS decided they would pursue the story, and you'll never guess what happened. Remarkable things. I'll share that with you coming up. We got gasoline prices, and the Democrats, that means the news media, they're up in arms about gasoline prices because gasoline prices went up a bit. They started quite low. News media always leaves that out. And then I did something crazy. Let's compare gasoline prices at their new higher rate per gallon to Joe Biden's normal presidency and Barack Obama's just everyday Barack Obama. You know, they all want us to stop driving cars. They want gasoline to be excessively expensive, like in California, so that we'll stop driving, and then they will slow the rise of the oceans because they have Zeus-like powers. They're godlike in the old. That's extraordinary stuff. These people, just extraordinary. And why do they hate the Jews so much? And then they go around and call everybody Nazis. What's up with that? And Cuba, it's a communist country about 90 miles off the coast of Florida. And there are commies there, and everybody tries to escape the voluntary departure. The voluntary departure of one of their captives, one of their citizens, is termed an escape. But I've got an update for you, what's going on there. With no food, no electricity, no medical care, Cubans are asking for God's help and to bring us Donald Trump. And honestly, Cuba may be next on Donald Trump's list of things to do. He's got a to-do list on the Resolute desk in the Oval Office written on a Post-it. And one of them might be free Cuba. He's got free Iran, 92 million people out of free Cuba. Isn't that amazing? And the Democrats and the left, the Democrats and the left. Canada is a very lefty country because it's full of people that call themselves liberals. And there's an extraordinary story out of Canada. They have, and I've talked about it once or twice here, but only in passing. Canada has assisted suicide. So if you are, let's say you're terminally ill and it's not fun at all, you can go into them and they'll put you to sleep, like in Soylent Green, and then they turn you into a food product of chips, and that feeds the population. But Canada, listen to this, Canada set to pass 100,000 assisted suicide deaths. All right? They've been doing the assisted suicide thing. The 10th anniversary is coming up. They're going to celebrate the anniversary of large-scale government-assisted suicide. And here's the thing. They're about to reach the threshold. More people killed by the government there, put to sleep, than they lost in World War II, than Canada lost in World War II. That's part of it. And this is, and I found this one. I got this at Newsmax, a friend at Newsmax yesterday. Canada and their assisted suicide, they're breaking records with their assisted suicide program. And I came home after Newsmax. I told my best girl about it in the kitchen. And she said, oh, yeah, I saw the other day that Canada is now euthanizing more people than they are dogs. That's right. They put dogs down when dogs are bad or dogs are sick or whatever. But they're putting down, and that's what they call putting down people. They're euthanizing. They don't really call it putting down. They're euthanizing more people in Canada than dogs. So my dog got so sad we had to bring in the dog and have put down. Oh, my poor wife. Had to bring in my wife and have her put down. And in Canada, in Canada, they're putting down more people than they are dogs, and they're about to pass the number of people that they lost in World War II fighting the Nazis, and the Japanese, too. You know, it was a global war. It was a world war. It was World War II. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. Just great stuff. And Dr. Jill Biden, who's not a doctor at all, but she's on The View, a heck of a doctor. She ought to be the Surgeon General because they're just dumber than rocks at The View. And they make millions of dollars for a year for being as dumb as they are. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? It's the end of civilization. But, and again, it's the left. Everywhere you look, it's the left. The euthanizing more people than dogs, it's the left. In Cuba, no food, no electricity, no medical care. And they're asking for Trump to come in. That's because of the left. It's all because of the left. The bomb throwing, mentally ill. Let's make some Molotov cocktails, go throw them into the Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. That's the left. You know, if conservatives had been doing just that much over the last few years, I think conservatives might have a reputation in the news media, and it would be a negative reputation. But for Democrats, nothing. It just washes right off at the end of every day. Extraordinary stuff. They shot Donald Trump once, tried to shoot him a second time, shot Steve Scalise, tried to wipe out a whole Republican baseball team with a Chinese combat assault rifle in a suicide attack. They're self-immolating all over the place. We've got a series of anti-Semitic attacks in San Francisco, in New York, in San Jose. Democrats violently attacking Jewish people because they're very severely mentally ill. Just extraordinary stuff. Now, with that said, I want to just warm you up on a few of the stories we have today. And the English, they're doing away with all of their traditions because they're becoming an Islamist country in England. They're doing away basically with the House of Lords, at least with the Lords in the House of Lords. So you can't really call it the House of Lords anymore. But that's an extraordinary thing. We've got that. But I've got to share with you something that I have. I'm going to go to a photograph that I shot with my telephone. My phone has a camera in it. Have you seen this? Yeah, it's extraordinary. Because of the patriarchy. Extraordinary. But I was driving in today, and there was an automobile in front of me. It's raining here, kind of a rainy day. And I was driving in, and there's a car in front of me, and there's traffic, of course. And the car is a Honda Civic, and it has a Washington, D.C. license plate, and it's a few years old. And there's a bumper sticker on it, and the bumper sticker says, it's a pink bumper sticker, and it says, "Don't honk!" ! I'm already crying. Don't honk! I'm already crying is what it says. And I laughed just a little bit, and I said, oh, this has got to be a white liberal woman. I know that there's about a 100% chance this is a white liberal woman. And I thought, there's traffic in all the lanes, and I couldn't get there right away. And I thought, of course, it could be any Democrat man, too, because they're all transgender. I don't know if you know this, but they're all engaging in gender self-mutilation and things like that. But don't honk, I'm already crying. And finally, a couple of blocks, and this person got into the left turn lane in front of me. So I was able, and the light was turning red, so I was able to pull up alongside this Honda Civic with the "Don't honk, I'm already crying" bumper sticker. And I pulled up alongside, and you'll never guess, there was a white liberal woman in the driver's seat. There was a white liberal woman, and I had to stop because there was a red light, and I was parked right next to this woman, a white liberal woman, with "Don't honk, I'm already crying." And guess what? She was crying. She was actually crying. I pulled up alongside of her on the right side of her vehicle. She's turning left in the left turn lane, and she had a white hanky, and she was literally dabbing both eyes, going back and forth from one eye to the other. She was sitting in the driver's seat, crying, and dabbing the tears off her face. "Don't honk, I'm already crying." And I laughed. Of course I laughed. What else would I do? And she didn't look over to catch me laughing, which was a little bit disappointing, but that was okay because she seemed very sad. She seemed very sad, given that she was crying openly, sobbing in her car while driving, trying to turn left. I suspect maybe she only turns left. She might have to turn left all she She never turns right. She only turns left. Don't honk. I'm already crying. And the satisfaction that she granted me this morning to pull up alongside of her and find that she was actively crying while driving in the rain, which makes it a little better. Just extraordinary. She was a liberal. People keep asking me, did you honk at her and mock her, make faces at her? I really didn't. I laughed, and I thought, oh, she seems so sad. She must be a liberal. She has a sticker on her back window. I think it says Syracuse University. Syracuse University. Not to give away too much. Michael is going to post the photo. We'll try to lose her license plate because it might be impolite. All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael. We are at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Rob calling from Montgomery County, Maryland. Rob, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, it's so good to talk to you. I've been a bit under the weather since this past Saturday, but I think I'll survive in spite of all the people that live here that go under the L category, in the People's Republic of Montgomery County.
Yeah, they're unwell.
You stole something from my idea this morning when you mentioned Soylent Green.
Yeah, Soylent Green.
People.
Yeah. In fact, yesterday we were I was sharing the stories with Michael Piercy, and I went to the internet and I pulled a video clip of Charlton Heston.
It's people. Soylent Green is made out of people.
Soylent Green is made out of people, and it's Charlton Heston. He went to my high school. And it is. Yeah,
really?
I did. Yeah,
wow.
they're putting people. Yeah, and Donald Rumsfeld and Anne Margaret and a lot of people, but that's not important now.
Smokes.
Yeah, but
that means something.
This lady, these people, they're. I want to feel sorry for them, but they become so ridiculous over the years, haven't they, Rob?
Yeah, it's beyond pathetic and sickening at this point. I was thinking these people, the left, the Democrat Party, I think they truly want to make being an American illegal.
Well, that's next. I think that's coming. Give them if they take control of the House and the Senate, that may be. You're going to want to amend the Constitution. Thanks, Rob.
Soylent Green is people!
That's right, Charlton Heston. Soylent Green is people. Who was it? Edward G. Robinson went and turned himself in so he could be used as a food source for the masses. And they euthanized him. They euthanized him in Soylent Green. And they took his dead body and made it into food chips, which is Soylent Green. Democrats are pretty close to that now. Pretty close to that. Famous book, and then it became a famous movie, and it was a lot of fun. And by the way, Soylent Green, the book Soylent Green, and then the movie Soylent Green, it was set in the future, in a terrible dystopian future. And the dystopian future about which the author wrote and the filmmakers made film was 2022.
New York City in the year 2022. Nothing runs anymore. Nothing works.
Soylent Green, set in 2022. And somehow I talked about it when 2022 rolled around. But that should have been a kind of somebody should have looked at that because now Canada is pretty much there. Here is the New York Post. And this story is actually from almost a week ago, from March 7th of 2026, the New York Post. Canada is set to surpass 100,000 assisted suicides, more than the country's World War II death toll. This is what the left does. They snuff out life by the millions, human life. They have more than 1 million abortions in the United States every year. And you know what they call it? Choice. You know, isn't that amazing? The Nazis, they called that whole death camp thing choice. It wasn't the choice of the people in the death camps, but it was the choice of the people with the armbands. And here is the New York Post story from about a week ago. Canada is set to surpass a grim milestone in its medically assisted suicide program, with a total of 100,000 citizens projected to be euthanized by the government before its 10th anniversary on June 17th. The Great White North MAID, M-A-I-D, the Medical Assistance in Dying program. They call it the MAID program. Oh, honey, the maid's coming over. Oh, that's nice. It's a little dusty in here. And it turns out they come in and they put you to sleep like a dog. So it's literally, I'm not making that up, MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying program, the MAID program, will soon cross. Somebody comes over with a white shirt and a black apron, and they got a rolling cart, and before you know it, mom's dead. We'll soon cross the sickly six-figure threshold, according to the National Post. That's a Canadian publication. Ottawa's most recent data shows 15,767 Canadians were euthanized by the state in 2024. 5.1% of all deaths in the nation that year. Now, hang on a second. 5.1% of deaths in the nation, 5%, 1 out of 20 deaths. And this is not just suicide. This is government suicide. They don't, it's, is it suicide when the government does it? They're putting you to death. And here's the thing. Canada doesn't have the death penalty if you're a murderer. You can be a mass murderer, a genocidal lunatic that kills a school full of children, and they have no death penalty. But if you're a little sad, and listen, you don't have to be critically ill. If you're depressed, they'll put you to sleep. I'm not making this up. This is true. 5.1% of all deaths in the nation. Isn't that remarkable? About 45 Canucks per day are being euthanized, according to the report in the Canadian national thing. That is just great. Now, in 2021, a total of 9,842 Canadian people were euthanized. Euthanized is the word. Only 2,000 shelter dogs in Canada were put down that year, according to the vet desk. You know, veterinarians, they take care. So, wait a minute. In 2021, they put down 2,000 shelter dogs. That's, stray dogs that are wandering the streets of Quebec City or Vancouver. And they put the dogs down, 2,000 shelter dogs. They try to give them away. But if you show up and say, put me down, they don't even try to find, like a shelter home for you. They just say, okay, lay on the table over here. And is it okay if we make Soylent Green out of you? As of 2024, total MAID deaths reached 76,475 citizens, nearly twice the 42,042 Canadians who died in the battle during World War II, during all of World War II, according to the Canadian War Museum. They lost 42,042 people in World War II. They've now euthanized 76,475 citizens, taxpayers. New York recently adopted its own version of the controversial program, the Medical Aid in Dying Act, which religious leaders have called societal failing. It's a genocide is what it is. But the New Yorkers, the liberal, they elect the Muslim, and then they start lining people up to kill them. All right? And we're going to have rail spurs and death camps before long. The proliferation of assisted suicide in Canada is a human tragedy and societal failing, one that New York is on track to duplicate, said Dennis Poust of the New York State Catholic Conference, and might be Poust, it's probably Poust, P-O-U-S-T, New York State Catholic Conference, the Muslim Council hasn't said anything about it, and a spokesman of the New York Archbishop Ronald Hicks on public policy matters. Isn't that extraordinary? So they're putting down more people than they're putting down dogs. Canada's program is indeed a warning, one we pointed to again and again as a harbinger of New York's future when appealing to lawmakers and the governor. He said, this is liberalism, all right, this is leftism, and there's nothing liberal about it. What starts out as a choice, hey, wait, it's like abortion again, you're aborting yourself after the fact, quickly becomes an expectation for patients, especially the poor and underinsured and people with disabilities. Tragically, that is what we can expect here. That's the Catholics right there. The controversial program, it's not controversial in Canada or in New York City, however, or in the American news media, because 60 Minutes is not working on a story on this rise of fascism, of Nazism, snuffing out human lives in a government program. The controversial program has come under review and renewed scrutiny after reports of same-day approval for MAID applications and claims that patients were pressured to needlessly end their lives while suffering from depression. And you show up and you say, I'm depressed, and they put you to sleep that day. This is what public health care does. This is what the left sees as the future of civilization, right? The family of 26-year-old Kano Vafayan, it's Vafaean, Vafayan, all right? Kano Vafayan are calling for reforms after their son, who, listen, had type 1 diabetes, suffered from seasonal depression. It's Canada. All right? You know, maybe you should try, maybe Chris Van Hollen will fly you to El Salvador or someplace. You can join MS-13. So he's 26 years old. He's got diabetes. He has seasonal depression, you know, like, what do they call that? SAD, seasonal affected disorder, when you have short days of sunshine. And I'm feeling a little mopey. Hey, well, we can put you to sleep. And he had vision problems. He had eyesight problems. Maybe you should send him down to My Eye Doctor. That's a chain store here in Washington. He was approved for the suicidal procedure and was euthanized on December 30th of 2025. That's just a couple of months ago in British Columbia. I think British Columbia is pretty nice. I'd say, you know, it's true the sun doesn't always come out. We never thought there would be a chance that any doctor would approve a 22 or 23-year-old at that time for MAID because of diabetes or blindness. Mother Margaret Marcilla of Ontario told Fox News Digital. New York has become the 14th state to approve a version of doctor-assisted suicide, with the bill passing by a narrow margin in the state legislature last June. Isn't that great? And then here at the end of the New York Post story, they say, if you're suffering from suicidal thoughts or experiencing depression or a mental health crisis, don't go to New York. It doesn't say don't go, but it gives you a phone number to call because you might be depressed. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. That's the New York Post. And then the People's Voice has the story, Canadian citizens euthanized at 2 times the rate of dogs in last 12 months. Just great stuff. From March 2nd of 2026. Canada's so-called medical assistance in dying, the MAID program, has exploded into a full-blown death machine, accounting for a jaw-dropping 5.1% of all deaths in the country. You know, I mean, that includes cancer and old age and car crashes and actual normal suicides, normal suicides. But here's the kicker that exposes the sinister underbelly. Human beings in Canada are now being euthanized at twice the rate of dogs. Let that sink in, Canada. Man's best friend gets more mercy than your aging grandparents or your 24-year-old son or brother or whatever that is. This isn't compassion. It's a calculated cull straight out of the global elite's playbook for population reduction in Western nations. I honestly, this is crazy. These people, and they call it liberalism. Make no mistake, they call it liberalism. Yes, sir. So that's what liberalism is up to today. Extraordinary things. All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's see. Let's go to Steve calling from Jerusalem. Stephen, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey,
Been
Steve.
a while.
Yeah, man, welcome. How you doing?
Well, I'll tell you, it's wonderful to be a part of history and see history in the making. Though I've been waiting for a long time for this. Let's see, where do I start? Let's start with the Israeli public.
Well, you're living in a war zone.
United.
You're living in a war zone, and you say it's wonderful to be a part of history and to see this happening. And I assume you mean what will presumably, hopefully, be the fall of the Islamic Revolution in Iran.
Yeah. It looks that way. That should be the direction we're headed if we keep it up. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Everybody's united here. Everybody's we're taking it. What that means is that just before I called or started listening to the show about an hour ago, I was at a mall at Beit Shemesh, which is pretty hot zone. We were leaving the mall. What happens is when Iran fires or Hezbollah fires into Israel, we get a warning on your phone. Wherever you are, your phone will get a warning, and it will tell you that be near a shelter. You may get an alert. Sometimes we don't get an alert, meaning that they shot it out of the sky and we don't have to worry about the debris falling down. And sometimes we do get an alert where we have to go into the shelter and stay there for 10 minutes until the event is ended. That's primarily what's going on here. Everybody gets used to it. Some people go in, some people don't. Kids are out. I was actually surprised when I went to a mall in Jerusalem and they had mommy and me hour, and there were about 50 mothers and their kids in their strollers, in the inner mall. They have areas that they have these little kids events, and it's just a regular day. There's no school, but it's a regular day. And if they get an alert, they'll go into the mall shelter, and we have a system. The kids are used to it. Everybody's used to it. It's a little scary. There was a projectile that fell out of the sky near a residential area where, without saying who was close to home, in a residential area, in a residential building, and there is no military installations near there. So that tells you what's going on with the Iranians and with the Hezbollah. More Hezbollah is entering this because that we see that here, that is a desperate move now. I mean, you know what's going to happen with Hezbollah. They're actually, I don't know if you're getting the news, but starting to come out in the Israeli press, and I knew this by the movement up in the north, because we have people. I know people that are in there that are, my son-in-law did not get called up at the present time, but they're pushing them north. And just a few hours ago is, listen, if you're going to keep doing this, we're going to go in there and occupy land just like we did and make a buffer zone up in Lebanon. I know I'm all over the place, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, I get that.
The Houthis are quiet. I think that has a lot to do with two things. The press here analyzed that and says, well, that's their escape route. They got nowhere else to go. If they fall, they got to go to Yemen because no one else is going to take them. The other thing is the recognitions of Somaliland. In that area, Israel recognized Somaliland. So I don't know. I'm sure that agreement came with an agreement to put some military assets.
Wow.
I don't have confirmation. I can only say that's what I think.
Yeah. Great stuff, Steve. I'm very glad that you called in. And, everybody says stay safe. I know. And going to shelters and all this stuff. But the fight is on, right? And Netanyahu is no weak link. And President Trump is no weak link. And it's about time that the Islamic Revolution in Tehran was confronted. And not just for you and for Israel and for us in the United States on the nuclear weapons and the ballistic missiles, but for the 92 million people of Iran that are having their teeth kicked out by this corrupt regime. It's about time that the world stopped acting like this was normal and that we should just accept it, because this is not normal. Of course, the left accepts it as normal, and therefore, the Democrats are against doing anything about it. And the Democrats are on the side of the jihadis, which might seem ironic, but again, they're putting people to sleep in Canada and in New York. Feeling sad? Come on down. We'll put you to sleep. But we've got a dog if you'd like. Thanks, Steve. 888-630-9625.
You will be indirectly responsible for the resulting euthanasia. Oh, boy, they got enough kids over there as it is.
Everybody knows that liberals hate cops and they want to defund the police and they want to eliminate ICE and they've defunded the Department of Homeland Security and if you're going through an airport, there might be 4-hour lines because of Democrats. And in Pennsylvania, a couple of Muslim guys rode their bikes into New York and threw some homemade improvised explosive devices, nail bombs at people because the guys that threw the nail bombs at the people that had the nail bombs thrown at them are the villains of the story, according to the media. But here's another one. Chester County, also in Pennsylvania. Chester County man who shot and killed officer had controversial social media presence. And when they say controversial social media presence, what they mean is all over his social media was, God, I hate cops. I hate cops. Cops ought to be killed. And it's ACAB. All cops are bastards. No borders, no cops, no cages. See, and Matt sent us this amazing story. The only good ice is water ice. No war, but class war. So he's a lefty lunatic. Nobody wants to play with me, he wrote later, accompanied images of the communist hammer and sickle. And then, of course, he gunned down a police officer because Democrats teach hatred and violence and suicidal everything. This is the Democrat Party. And this is perfectly normal in Democrat circles. They send this stuff back and forth to each other.